Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and today we are going to cover an aircraft that a lot of you have asked me to cover, and that's going to be the C17 Globemaster 3 in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. The Globemaster is the backbone of the cargo operations of many air forces around the world. At the very forefront, of course, the United States Air Force. So it's only fitting that we are in Ramstein today, in the largest US Air Force base abroad, and we are going to fly some Humvees over to Cologne in preparation for an exercise. Now, the C17 is a really beautifully rendered aircraft in terms of the visuals. However, there are some system limitations in place at the moment. For instance, you do not have vertical navigation and the autopilot only has very limited modes available. Also, despite the fact that there is an 80-page manual, unfortunately, there is no real performance information in there, so we don't know any takeoff speeds, approach speeds and stuff like that. So we gotta make all of that up on our own, which is the reason why I didn't cover the aircraft just yet, because there is just so little information available. But nonetheless, let's give it a try and see where we're gonna get, and see if we can enjoy the aircraft with somewhat of made-up procedures as well. Not exactly the normal stuff that we do on this channel, but I suppose it is a very good looking aircraft, and so many of you have asked for it that we are going to give it a go. So that's the cargo bay of the C17. Beautiful large cargo bay and very, very well modeled with all the details available over here. And for example, we have all those seats for any troops we might ferry. And we also have our Loadmaster station available right down here. We will get to that in a few moments. In the meantime though, a couple more details that we can find down here are amongst others a modeled lavatory that we can find over here. And most importantly, we also have some space where we can hang our uniforms once we're inside for one of those very long flights available over here. So very well done modeling by Miltech, and we'll get back to a little bit more details in a few moments. But for now, follow me upstairs into the cockpit of the C17. Now the cockpit looks a little bit different from what you're used to from your average civilian airliner, but it does make a lot of sense when you get your heads around it. So for now, let's take a seat on the captain's seat, and we're going to start with a couple of basics here. The checklists are included in the manual, and those are the ones I am using today, even though I find them incomplete, but we'll talk more about that as we go on with the flight. So, external pre-flight checklist. Engine covers removed, pilot covers removed, even though I'm wondering if that should read pitot covers instead of pilot covers. I sure hope that the pilot can keep the uniform, or, well, look good. So, wheel pins removed, front gear tire pressure checked, main gear tire pressure checked, and that's the external pre-flight checklist complete. So let's get to the pre-flight inspection checklist. Gear handle down, engine ignition norm override switch, norm engine ignition selector switch off, engine shut-off switches 1, 2, 3 and 4 off. So, ground ops power switch off, and then battery switch on and locked, DC cross tie switch, auto, and I found that you are still going to get a lot of the warnings for the different switches, even though they may already be in the correct position, unless you actually turn them off and then back into auto. So, not sure if that is intended or not, but that's how I found these to operate. Then, emergency power switch, auto, transfer bus switch, auto, left and right avionic bus switches, auto. And warning and caution panel is checked. Fire detection system.
APU fire. Fire number 1 engine.
Okay, checked. I'll not let it run through the entire test here. So, smoke detection system tested and armed. Then, external power switch. On. AC cross tie switch. Auto. Bailout alarm. That's going to be on the right hand side over here. Tested. Emergency lights. Armed. Stall test. Okay, complete. pre-flight inspection complete, then we can continue with the pre-flight checklist. But before we do that, let's go ahead and load our aircraft. So we do have some general services available down here, and we do need hydraulic pressure to be able to operate the doors. So let's go ahead and turn those on. So down here we got general things such as the ramp, the cargo door, and stuff like that. Now, let's go downstairs to the Globemaster section, and over there we can have a much better view on what we can do on the tablet and on the kind of stuff that we can load in this aircraft. So, let's take a seat over here. And then, well, let's go ramp down. So that's our ramp lowered, and now let's go into the payload section, and over here we can load whatever we want to carry. So today we are going to carry some Humvees, which we can load like this. So now we have 6 Humvees loaded into the aircraft, but you can take a lot of different things, such as a heavy armored vehicle over here, or you can take some nice and important looking vehicles, and most importantly you can even transport the fuselage of a Chinook, and that's just impressive, isn't it? Likewise, the real airplane is even able to carry a tank. However, that's currently not simulated, but well, you can go with the presidential limousine instead. How's that? Overall, I really like that. Last but not least, we also have the UH-60 fuselages that we can load. And finally, we could also load some cargo pallets over here, depending on the mission type that you may want to operate. Today, we're going to transport some Humvees. Now, the fuel section is unfortunately only for illustrational purposes, so if we want to actually refuel the aircraft, we've got to use the EFB over here, flight performance, mass and balance, and then we can go over into the fuel, take it in pounds, and then over here you can edit those. Now, unfortunately, it comes with the standard problem that when using the return switch, in order to delete those numbers, it's moving my point of view around. A little bit unfortunate, but well, gotta live with that, I suppose. And well, here we are then. So that's 40,000 pounds of fuel loaded up. And well, let's go ahead and put a little bit into the center tank. Maybe just 100 kilos or so. Alright, now at load an aircraft, and with that our fuel is loaded, our cargo is also loaded, and we're at a total weight now of 352,000 pounds, which is far below the maximum takeoff weight. But then again, we are just faring a little bit of general cargo around today. Now, gotta love the good old Windows XP, and that little goodie in the back over here. I mean, that's the simulator I started doing my flight simulation on, and most certainly there are worse ways to spend your 10 hours flight time flying around the world, sitting in the back over here, than with Flight Simulator X. Alright, let's get back up, and we are going to start to prepare our aircraft for service now. So let's take a seat on the commander's seat and then run the pre-flight checklist. So the parking brake is set, the warning and caution panel is checked, interior and exterior lights. So we'll start with the interior lights. I'm going to turn our backlighting on everywhere, so that we can see our displays a little bit nicer. Here we go, and last but not least, our FO seat can also get some lighting going over here. Excellent. For the exterior lights, let's turn the nav light on over here, and I don't know why the position lights by default are in the positions they're in. Well, suppose we are just gonna leave them there. That's gonna be fine. Okay, so our cockpit lights are set, instruments lights are set. Then let's go ahead and turn on the IRUs. Up here, now HUD, MCD and MFC. Well, most importantly, the HUD brightness up here. Let's turn that down to a level where we can actually see something decent without all the bloom. And then our main screens, I kind of like them in the dimmed mode down here. Like that. Alright, next we are going to set up our radios. So we want 122.8 in COM 1, 121.5 in COM 2. Like that. Then we can set our transponder, Squawk 2000. And last but not least, our radios. And for those, let's go ahead and bring up our charts. Departing Ramstein Air Force Base. And we are going to depart via the Toli 2 departure. And we can also take ourselves some airport charts. And then, looking at that chart, we do have a VOR over here in Ramstein. And that's 113.4. So, set number 1 and also on number 2. Alright, perfect. So, pilot standby instruments. Over here we can set the QNH, and today that QNH is 3042. Now, in case you're wondering why we are getting that in inches rather than hectopascals, that's because obviously we are at a United States Air Force base here, with Ramstein being the largest US Air Force base abroad. And therefore they are using US procedures to a certain extent. Works for me. Alright, next up, ELT switch, norm. Then FAT arm switch, armed. OBIX switches on, APU off. Alright, electrics are set, then we can move up to the top. And over here we have the trim air on. The compartment airflow on, remote temperature control on, and then moving further down we already have the auxiliary pumps on. We can turn on the fuel pumps number 3 in preparation for the APU start that's coming in a few moments. Then moving up here, the windshield defog switch can come on, fasten belt switches coming on, and that leads us down onto the main panel. So the initial climb today is going to be 5,000 feet, and the first speed 250 knots. Runway track is 258. Like that. Alright, then moving down to the main panel, we want our DMEs to be both on the VORs. Down here we can select our nav display, as that's the typical display setup. And the PFD then goes on here. And down here we'll take the ND again as well. The reason why we're taking the nav display down here is because we are using the heads-up display as our primary flight display, so the one down here is actually just a backup. Alright, moving further down, we'll get to the FMS a little bit later. We can set an altitude marker at 1,000 above ground, so that's going to be 1,800 feet. Here we go. So now we can make our ND selections, and you can see down here we've got a lot of options available. So we start with the data, then we also want our airports down here, and that's it for now. Now, as you can see, you do have some options over here, how you can turn around your nav display. Personally, I like this one best, so because it's just the most similar to my favorite average airliner. So I'm gonna stick to that. Right, range 5 miles. The weather radar, I have no idea why it's on, but it is gonna go off. Okay, and that's all the important things set up down here, so let's get into the FMS setup. The FMS, you will probably recognize it, is fairly similar to that one in the ProLine 21 avionics. But let's go over it, because there are some changes since we only have a main FMS, and for instance we do not have the performance part, but only the lateral navigation. So we do have a current nav database. On the position init page we are going to use the GPS position, then onto the flight plan, and we are departing Echo Tango Alpha Romeo, Ramstein, and we are going towards Cologne. Our call sign is going to be Reach 17. And then departure arrivals, Ramstein departing 26 via the Turley 2 November departure. And then back onto the flight plan page. That one leads all the way to Rudart. And now going down here, we can enter Quebec 760 towards Iruki. And then Tango 856 Depok. Pretty much like that. So we can execute that change, and last but not least, let's enter our as expected arrival, which is now ILS approach to runway 24. Execute that, and then onto the legs page we can check what we've got. And I have left the discontinuity in here on purpose. Well, and with that, everything that's in inverse video down here is disabled. So as you can see, there is not all that much that we could still do. If you look at the index page, you can see all the performance part is actually missing down here. So I'm afraid that's what it is. Okay, so we are just going to stick to this. Well, maybe we can enter some fixed info here, so let's enter Rammstein and a distance of 25 miles. Like that. And quick cross check here on the nav display, see what we got. So that's our ring. Well, perfect. And that's everything we have here for the time being. And that basically concludes our setup as well. So let's go ahead and start up the APU. The fuel pump is on, APU, power, and starter. And while the APU is starting, let's go downstairs and close up, so that we can start up our engines next. So the Humvees are secured. Then we're gonna close up over here. Then let's go over to the Globemaster station. Here we go. So services. Ramp up. Close the cargo door. Alright, so quick check in the back there. Everything seems done to me. Quick check from the outside as well. As you can see, everything is done and closed. And with that, once the APU is online, we can disconnect the external power unit and get ready for service. So let's take a seat over here, put on the headsets. APU 100%, so APU generator on, external power unit off. And then APU air is coming on. Let's also bring the packs on for a moment here to start getting a little bit of warm air into the aircraft. And with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and start the Globemaster checklist. So that's the Globemaster computer on. The door is closed, takeoff weight verified, center of gravity verified, Globemaster checklist complete. Okay, before engine start checklist. Com radio set, APU and external equipment checked, park and brake is on, warning panel and displays checked, fuel quantity. Let's see, we have 40,000 pounds of fuel on board. Before engine start checklist complete. Okay, are you ready? Then engine start checklist. MFD 2 and 3 set for engine start. So like that. Okay, nav light on, anti-collision light, fuselage and wing, engine igniter switch set to A, throttles, idle. So, bleed air supply. Let's see, APU on, cross bleed open, packs off. Okay, it's checked, and then let's go. Engine shut-off valve number 1 on, fuel pumps all on, and engine 1 start. So let's hear that in action. Those are some beautiful sounds, aren't they? I really do like it. So, watch the Chinook in the back there. Really a neat feature of the scenery. Okay, and we have a good starting engine number 1, starting engine number 4. This time we're gonna watch it from the inside, so N2 is increasing. Next up we're looking for oil pressure and N1 to increase. N1 is slowly coming, oil pressure is as well. Eventually the aircraft will add some fuel down here. You can see the fuel flow going up. Looking for ignition now. And for some super strange reason, there is no ignition over here. Which I really don't know why it's not working, but that is a bug I've faced in quite some different occasions. Well, what can we do about this? Tell you honestly, quickly check all our system statuses, which are looking good. And then I'm just gonna press Ctrl E, which is eventually lighting up the engines. I'm really not 100% sure what I'm doing wrong. I'm following the checklist to the letter. But well, so be it. Now the engine is starting up. Now, what should I have done different? I don't know. I can't get it from the checklist, so if you know, put it into the comments below the video, please. So, numbers 2 and 3 are starting up. And that's looking good. So we have 4 good engine starts. So continue with the checklist. APU bleed off, engine bleeds on, packs on. Okay, wing DI is off, engine DI is off. Probe heat switches on, packs left and right on, hydraulic pumps, primary, secondary, auxiliary. All 4 on. Okay, so those can come off. And that's all looking good. Before taxi checklist. DC cross tie switch, auto, hydraulic transfer pumps, auto, flaps and slats. So let's bring them all the way out. Verify that full travel is working normally. In the meantime, we can already continue. So, flight controls. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Rudder. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Okay, so engine generators. On, APU generator off, APU off, external power off. So, standby engine selector on EPR, thrust rating, well, here we go, derated. Okay, flaps. So let's see, we've got full, and then back to half. Here we go, flaps set, stabilizer set, rudder and aileron trim 0, altimeter set, doors closed, hydraulic temperatures checked, warning display checked, before taxi checklist complete. Okay, then let's bring up the PFD over here, please, and the primary engine instruments over here. And then let's go, taxi. Okay, a little bit of power, brake check. Brakes okay. Clear right side, clear left side. So, taxi is fairly straightforward. We are parking at the main parking up here. So we are going on the Foxtrot, Echo North, and then backtrack on runway 27, Bravo for runway 26 for our departure. So, the C17 is a pretty large aircraft. That means we gotta pay good attention at our ground speed gauge located down here on the nav display in order to be sure that we are not overspeeding, especially when approaching a turn. We just really need to develop that feeling for the aircraft here. So, 17 knots is already a little bit fast to go through the turns, but it is what it is. A small comment here, the Rammstein scenery, as I'm sure a couple of you will ask, was available on flightsim.to a couple years ago. Unfortunately, for some reason, it has vanished from there, and, well, I still had it available on a local backup. It is what it is. But I do think it's looking really good. If any one of you knows where it is available for download online, then put it in the comments below, since it is a very good scenery for those of us who want to fly the C17 and other military aircraft in the sim, and since it works perfectly in Flight Simulator 2024, even though it was originally made for the old simulator. Okay, taxi checklist please. So, 40% and 1 maximum. We are staying below that at all times. Taxi light on and extended. Brakes, minimize use. Thrust reversers, minimize use. And that's the taxi checklist already complete. Okay, we take the next to the right, and then we're already at our departure runway. So, for the takeoff briefing, it is going to be a left seat takeoff. Runway 26 flaps are extended, and we have no published takeoff speeds, so I'm just going to rotate at 140 knots, and yeah, that should work, I suppose. In case of any abnormals, we can go straight ahead, climbing 5,000 feet, which keeps us safe, and for the standard sit, I am going to hand fly quite a lot, since the autopilot is rather limited. We'll talk about that in greater detail in a few moments. Any questions? No? Perfect. Then let's do the lineup procedures. So, the lights are already on. Okay, before takeoff checklist please. Brakes, steering and stick, checked. Flight instruments, checked. Probe heat switches, on. Fuel boost pumps, on. And warp display checked. Before takeoff checklist complete. Clear on the approach. Clear on the right. Then we can follow up with a lineup checklist immediately. Okay, lineup checklist. Slats extended, flaps half, and slats flaps index is confirmed. Hydraulic temperatures checked. Exterior lights on, landing lights on and extended. And that's the lineup checklist complete. Okay, ready to go. So, a few things. We don't have auto thrust for our takeoff thrust setting, so we can see the limit line over here. We are going to move our indexes up to the limit line after we've stabilized the engines. Well, and that is going to be our takeoff. Now, let's see how well that's going to work, because I find that limit to be very, very low down here. But let's give it a try, and we can always add power if needed. Are you ready to go? Yes. Takeoff. Staying on the brakes here. Stabilize at 1.1. And set takeoff thrust. Brakes released. But look at that, we only get like 60% and 1. The rating limit is 1.47, so let's see where we are gonna get with this. Thrust set. 80 knots, using the HUD as primary reference here, not the PFD inside. Okay, V1. Rotate. Looking for 12 degrees initial pitch. You have flaps out. Shut up. Positive climb, gear up. And I'm adding some thrust since we are already losing airspeed. This is probably much better. Okay, so you can give me 1.47 EPR. That's much better. So, starting the right-hand turn, accelerating, flaps retract. And slats retract. So 250 knots, looking good. And then let's set MCT. Okay, climb, flight level 240. And that's set, and then let's go ahead and start to configure for automatic flight here. As mentioned, very limited autopilot, but nonetheless. Autopilot master on, auto throttle master on. LNAV. And well, that much about the basics. The autopilot is on, but as you can see, only have either pitch hold, as we are operating in right now. We do have LNAV or heading select, but there is no level change or anything the like simulated, which is part of the reason why I really didn't want to, well, use the airplane in first place, honestly. Okay, let's go vertical speed hold, then pitch down a little bit, and we're accelerating up to 290 knots. But the simple fact that we have to do all of this with vertical speed, in my opinion, is not very good. I mean, if you don't want to give us VNAV, at least give us level change. Okay, the lights are off. Let's do the after takeoff checklist. Landing gear, up, lights out. Flaps flats, up, retracted. Anti-ice, off. Pressurization and packs, checked and on. And AC packs, checked and on. After takeoff checklist, complete. So you can pitch forward again a little bit. We're looking for 290 knots. So, weather radar is coming on. Not mentioned in the checklist, unfortunately. But I do suppose we are going to take a small shortcut here. Direct to ProArt. Execute. And that's an immediate right-hand turn over here. So, speed is coming up nicely. Let's give it some 2,000 feet a minute, or whatever the aircraft can take. Looked like 2,000 is a bit much. Let's do 1,500. It should fly 290. Suppose 280 is fine as well, I guess. Once again, the outside view in the new sim is just amazing. So let's bring that ND range up a little bit. Only around 80 miles to our destination, so things are gonna go quite quick over here. Now, if you know how to turn on the TCAS over here, which I just couldn't find, do let me know in the comments below. Okay, we're up in the air. We are climbing just about nicely, up to 24,000 feet, and thereafter it's gonna go down, or we're gonna go down pretty quickly again. So let's turn that windshield anti-ice to norm. I'm not sure why we're still getting an anti-ice caution over there, since basically the system is now set as it should. Do note, by the way, that windshield anti-ice norm is not in the checklist. And it would certainly help if you turned on the fire detection systems, which again is not in the checklist. So, synchronize the heading buck. It's a Boeing after all. Or McDonnell Douglas to be exact. Set standard. Select cross check, passing level 156 now. And then we can turn that little marker down here off again. Or just preset it to the approach minimum, which is what I'm going to do. So that's going to be 510 MDA. Very good. So let's look a little bit into the arrival into Cologne already. Cologne Bonn, weather 230 at 6, broken 2100, QNH 1028, becoming broken 1200. Alright, so easy going, very good weather conditions. We'll take the ground chart, and I don't think we need the parking charts anywhere. For the approaches, ILS approach onto runway 24. So the approach course is going to be 241. Let's go to nav. So frequencies 109.1 active, and the course is going to be 241 degrees. Set. On the standby, we can take KBO 12.15, which might become relevant for a go-around. Now, same thing on nav2, 109.1, and for the standby this time we're going to take VIPO-VOR, which we need for our go-around, so that's 109.6, and the approach course is 241. So minimum 540, well, we are not 65.7, so minimum 600. And here we go, that's also set. So radar can look down, please. And that's already it. Now, I tend to say 240 is a little bit high, not sure why Simri said that, but let's stop in flight level 200. And out 200. So you don't need to change over, my friend. 290. And that's good. So flight level 200 means we need 60 nautical miles to descend. And since we still have to fly all around the airport, 60 miles is roughly here, so in around 10 miles we can already go ahead and start our descent. In the meantime though, cruise checklist, altimeters, standard set, anti-ice off, pressurization checked, exterior lights off, and personnel warning signs, we're gonna keep them on. Cruise checklist complete. Now, talking about the warning signs, just a quick thing over here. If we do go down into the Globemaster area for a moment, you can see that the actual warning signs up there are modeled and working, which is pretty nice. Overall, really spacious cabin over here. Really neat, isn't it? Alright then, let's go back up into the cockpit. Here we go. Okay, and that's our crew rest area right over here, with a nice little view into our cargo cabin, so that we can check what's going on back there. Nice feature, isn't it? So, unfortunately, that little door over here is not modeled, otherwise we could go up a little bit higher as well, but not today. Overall, a really well done cabin, and I do have to say I like it very, very much. If only the autopilot would be a little bit better. Like right now, look at that, it's... So, speed 290 please. But look at how aggressive it is. And now it's gonna undershoot. Yep. The autoflight system really is my main point where I'd like to see things improved here. Now look at how it's correcting those 8 knots again. That's quite a significant deviation there, isn't it? Okay, in any case, let's fly heading 030. So, heading and then we can start our descent down to level 100. Unfortunately, this time tactical descents are not simulated. So we can't do the famous flight level 300 down to 5,000 feet in 2 minutes thing. But they do plan to add that with a future update, and it would surely be amazing to do this 15,000 feet a minute rate of descent that they can do in this aircraft for tactical purposes. Think, for example, flying over a war zone, you want to land, but you want to be as little exposed to... You want to have as little exposure as possible to any ground air missiles. So that's how they do that. Well, let's go for the descent checklist, please. Engine ignition switch. A. Anti-ice set. Personal warning signs on. En route descent, follow speeds. Tactical descent, follow speeds. Yeah, that's fine. So for the en route descent, we fly the lowest of Mach 0.74 or 310 knots. Okay. So 310 knots selected. Ground speed 350, so 2,000 feet a minute gets us down nicely. Well, and with that, we're in the descent down to Cologne. Now, for some reason, it transitioned onto a Mach number. We don't want to do that. We want to go 310. And look at that. When the auto throttle is adding power, it's busting the limit straight out. Interesting. Overspeed. According to the checklist, we should fly 310. Well, down to 300. Okay, engine anti-ice on. Engine anti-ice is on. So let's tidy up that flight plan, please. Direct to Delta Kilo 554, intercept course 241, execute. And here we are, that's our extended center line. And for some strange reason, it has just sequenced our entire flight plan. Well, well, let's re-enter it then. ILS, runway 24. Let's enter a Copac transition or something the likes. So, legs page, direct to, Copac, execute. And it's just sequenced it again. No idea why it's doing that. Perhaps because we're on the other side of the airport, maybe it just sequences all the other waypoints. That surely wouldn't be correct behavior, but I wouldn't be surprised. Let's formulate it that way. Okay, engine anti-ice off. Let's take a small moment just to look outside here. So again, this is quite amazing, isn't it? The graphics in this simulator, I can't say it often enough. They're just completely wonderful. Okay, so descent altitude 5,000. And that is on the QNH 1028. Okay, 1028, cross-checked. Passing 11.4, well, 11.3. Now, checked. So, target speed back towards 250. Speed is coming back nicely, very good. Look at that, it's quite a draggy aircraft. Descending at 1600 feet a minute, we are still decelerating. Okay, turn left heading 010. So dial it in, then press the button, and now it starts turning. Okay, we have around 12 miles, well 15 miles to lose that altitude, so give me a good rate of descent please, 2,000 feet a minute. And then we can go down to 4,000 feet already. Interestingly enough, every time I press the altitude button in order to send the newly commanded altitude to the system, it resets the rate of descent to 1,500 feet a minute. Not sure why it's doing that. Doesn't seem logical to me. Alright, approach checklist please. Engine anti-ice on. Okay, passing 10,000 feet, 250 max. Exterior lights on, altimeter set, standing by for flaps and thrust rating. Okay, let's try to enter the approach into the FMS one more time. Check speed. Yeah, speed is checked, thank you. Okay, this looks a lot better. Now let's make it direct Delta Kilo 554. Like that. Execute. Very nice. Now we have a good routing. Oops, didn't mean to hide the stick. I just wanted to disengage the autopilot in order to be able to do a bit of manual flight. So, autopilot, auto throttle off. Then let's have a little bit of fun and bring us down manually. So, minimum range on the NG, we're already getting below the glide slope. Turn left heading 340. Glide slope is coming alive, very good. Master caution, press to reset. What is it? Anti-ice. Oh, you have anti-ice. It's so strange for me to look at the heads-up display for attitude information and then look down at the nav display compared to the normal left and right. I don't mind whether my PFD is on the left or the right side. That's not a problem, but top and bottom is strange. 2500. Terrain noted. So let's start to slow down. Unfortunately, I have absolutely no idea at which speed we can extend the flaps and the slats. Alright, turning final. Nice 30-degree bank. Okay, heading west, cleared for the approach. Oh, undershot our altitude a little bit here. Okay, so let's extend. This is of course where it would be very, very handy to have a first officer available who could do all your settings on the MCP and stuff like that, so that you, as pilot flying, can actually focus on the flying part. Okay, localizer capture and glide slope capture. Overshot a little bit, still getting used to the aircraft. It's strange that I don't get any of the ILS information on the heads-up display. If you know how to get it there, be sure to let me know in the comments below. Because now I really gotta get the PFD over here in order to be able to fly this properly. Okay, runway heading 241. Go around altitude 4000. So, idle power, let's start slowing down. The runway is in sight. I might as well just go visual. Flaps half. Gear down. And flaps full. Checked.
1000.
You said that already. So 130 knots seems to be just about fine. The airplane is behaving very nicely like this.
700. 650. 550 to 600. 650. 650. That's 700.
For some reason the glide slope looks incorrect to me here.
650.
I don't know, looking outside it looks like we are on a perfect profile.
400. 400. 350. 350. 300. 250. 200. 150. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10. 10.
And we touched down right on 10. Typical Microsoft Flight Simulator. Okay, reversers. And we can already turn them off again. Let's make it roll all the way to the end. And then we vacate to the right and onto the military apron over there. So overall an enjoyable flight, even though there are lots and lots of things that I don't quite understand in the avionics and where I'm rather convinced that there are some bugs involved as well. So let's change them back and then off to the right hand side. Okay, where's the taxiway? Here it is. Well, and with that, welcome to Cologne. Now let's go ahead and run the after landing checklist, please. I'll tell you what, the taxi is going to be so short. Let's vacate the runway, bring it to a stop, and then we can do the after landing checklist then. So, here we are. Let's just quickly bring it to a stop over here. Now after landing checklist. So, flap slats. Going up retracted, spoilers disarmed, exterior lights. Are set, and the ramp is normal, engines within limits. Then engine 1 and 4 hydraulic systems off. Set, APU start. And engine 1 and 4 boost pumps off, ProArt off. Engine anti-ice can also come off. And that's the after landing checklist complete. Alright, so next parking to the left, and then we have already made it. So let's not get too fast here. The aircraft is very, very good at that. And here we go. Note how you can hear the APU running up in the background. For a second I thought it would be my engines that are spooling up, but luckily it's not. Okay, and here we are. So, cockpit switch off checklist. What a name. Parking brake is set, engine shut-off switches. Well, first of all, I am going to turn that APU power on, even if the checklist tells me nothing about it. So, ignition off, engine shut-off switches. All 4 off, anti-ice off, hydraulic pumps. Are off, interior and exterior lights. As needed. So, personnel warning signs off. IRU switches off. Orbix LNR switch lights off. Emergency light switch off. Oh, that was the wrong button. That's better. Okay, so emergency light switch off, DC cross tie switch auto, emergency power switch on, transfer buses off, APU power switch off, APU off, and battery switches off. And that's the cockpit switch off checklist complete. So, welcome to Cologne, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this flight. Definitely a kind of aircraft that we haven't flown before. Now, leave your feedback on how you liked it, and leave your feedback on how I mishandled the avionics and how I could do it better. I really couldn't find much documentation about it. That's the reason I did things I did them. So there was a lot of freestyle involved over here, no doubt about it. But at least we made it where we wanted to go. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave your feedback, as I'm really looking forward to it. And let me know if you want me to fly aircraft like this in the future, even with probably insufficient documentation available. Thank you very much for watching. Like, comment and subscribe, and if you really love what I'm doing on the channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.